The Black Angels saved countless lives, but for too long, their contribution to history has gone unrecognized.
But now a new book explores the lives of the black nurses on Staten Island who ultimately helped cure tuberculosis. News 4's Jackie Beckford has their story as we begin Women's History Month.
Here on the grounds of the old Seaview Hospital, history was all but buried, much like many of the buildings now swallowed up by nature.
Didn't know that much about it. You know, she never talked about it.
Not even the families of the black nurses credited with helping to cure tuberculosis knew what they had done.
First thing I asked is, how was your day? She said, my day was okay.
What Patricia Wilson's grandmother likely failed to tell her was she experienced rampant racism while caring for people dying from the yet incurable disease.
I talk a lot in the book about institutional racism that they experienced here at Seaview under their supervisor.
Author Maria Smilios spent 8 years bringing their story to life. Her book, titled The Black Angels, The Untold Story of the Nurses Who Helped Cure Tuberculosis.
I was astonished that this story had never been told.
The story began in 1929 when white nurses quit the Staten Island hospital en masse, fed up with putting their lives at risk, treating infectious patients who were mainly poor and mainly immigrants.
They sent them here to Seaview, which was called the pest house, to languish and die.
Despite most hospitals in the city refusing to hire black nurses, Seaview recruited black nurses mainly from the Jim Crow South.
It wasn't easy. It was quite difficult. And so many people put their life on the line.
Including Virginia Allen. Now 92, she is the last living black angel who actually lives in the same building here turned retirement home where she was a nurse 77 years ago.
Working here was delightful because I was working with children and they were full of vitality.
Allen says her aunt, also a nurse, received countless cards from grateful patients.
She mentioned that the patients called the nurses angels.
But they didn't just care for the sick. They were instrumental in the testing of drugs, one that would end up being the cure.
The nurses were the persons who were actually carrying out the orders of the doctor, collecting specimens, writing the documents.
But for over 70 years, their integral role in helping end the disease that killed 5 million Americans remained unknown.
This was a woman's story, a black women's story in science that had remained completely untold because the women had been erased from this really important narrative about tuberculosis. These women saved tens of millions of lives.
I'm happy to know that the nurses who worked here at that time are getting recognition.
On Staten Island, Jackie Beckford, News 4, New York.
Wow, it's about time. Angels
Long overdue.
indeed.